Alaska. For decades, social media, high-end travel magazines, and pristine wildlife documentaries have painted this corner of the world as the ultimate bucket list paradise. A land of untouched glaciers, majestic grizzly bears, and untamed fjords where human worries simply melt away. But beneath this heavily commercialized, postcard-perfect illusion lies one of the most ruthless, isolated, and logistically unforgiving environments on planet Earth. Welcome to Before You Go Travel Official. Today, we are stripping away the romanticized marketing layers of the American last frontier. We are breaking down the brutal financial traps, the infrastructure deceptions, and the high-stakes survival realities that 99% of tourists fail to calculate until their bank accounts and safety are completely compromised. If you think visiting Alaska is just another standard American road trip, you are about to make an incredibly expensive mistake. Let's deconstruct the frozen matrix. Our first major deconstruction begins with transportation, specifically the Alaska Cruise Network. Millions of travelers book these massive cruise ships every year, believing it is the most economical and stress-free way to witness the glaciers. This is the first structural trap. The cruise industry operates as a closed-loop financial conveyor belt. They lure you in with seemingly reasonable baseline ticket prices. But the moment the ship drops anchor in towns like Ketchikan, Juneau, or Skagway, you enter a highly monopolized local extraction economy. In these ports, the local tour operators are often owned by or heavily partnered with the cruise lines. Standard excursions that cost under $50 in the rest of America are aggressively marked up. A basic 2-hour glacier walk can easily cost $300 per person. Want to take a helicopter to an ice field? Prepare to shell out $700 to $1,000 per seat. If you do not pay these premium gatekeeper fees, you are left stranded in heavily artificial tourist trap port villages designed exclusively to sell mass-produced souvenirs and duty-free jewelry. The real wild Alaska remains completely locked behind a massive paywall. For those who decide to bypass the cruise ships and opt for an independent road trip starting from Anchorage or Fairbanks, you will immediately hit the wall of the independent transport cartel. Alaska's rental car market experiences one of the most severe supply and demand shocks in global tourism. Because the peak summer season lasts less than 12 weeks, rental companies must make their entire annual profit in a microscopic window. If you do not reserve your vehicle 6 to 9 months in advance, standard compact cars can skyrocket to $300 or even $400 per single day. And that is just the baseline cost. Standard American car insurance policies or credit card coverages frequently contain strict exclusionary clauses for Alaska. The moment your tires touch unpaved or gravel-heavy scenic routes, you're completely exposed. A cracked windshield or a punctured oil pan from flying gravel can instantly result in thousands of dollars of out-of-pocket expenses charged directly to your card before you even board your flight home. This brings us to part 4, the infrastructure void. When viewing a map of Alaska, the human brain subconsciously assumes a standard interconnected highway system similar to the lower 48 states. This assumption is a logistical nightmare. Less than 20% of Alaska is accessible by roads. Major bucket list destinations, including the state capital of Juneau, cannot be reached by car. You cannot simply drive from one highlight to the next. To navigate between these isolated pockets, you are forced to rely on the Alaska Marine Highway ferry system or local bush planes. The ferry system is heavily subsidized but plagued by frequent seasonal delays, mechanical breakdowns, and union strikes. If your schedule is tight, a single canceled ferry can ripple through your entire itinerary, causing you to lose hundreds of dollars in non-refundable hotel bookings hundreds of miles away. In Alaska, distance is not measured in miles. It is measured in extreme logistical risk. When the roads end, the bush plane matrix begins. Small single-engine aircraft are the literal lifeblood of Alaskan transit. If you want to see true wilderness, deep national parks, or remote bear viewing spots like Katmai, a bush plane flight is mandatory. This introduces two massive variables: extreme cost and extreme weather vulnerability. These micro flights easily cost $400 to $600 for a brief round trip, but more importantly, they are entirely at the mercy of Alaska's erratic maritime and Arctic weather fronts. Dense fog, sudden high winds, and torrential summer rains can ground these tiny aircraft for days at a time. If you are stuck in a remote lodge or a wilderness outpost when the weather turns, you are completely trapped. Local pilots will not risk their lives or their aircraft for your flight schedule. You must build a 3 to 4 day financial and time buffer into your trip. If you have a hard international flight connection out of Anchorage, missing it due to weather delays in the bush can cost you thousands in last-minute rebooking fees. Let's talk about the reality of daily survival costs. Remote subsistence inflation. Alaska produces almost none of its own food or consumer goods. Over 85% of everything consumed in the state must be shipped via cargo boats from Seattle or flown in at immense expense. When you walk into a standard grocery store in Anchorage, you will notice an immediate 15 to 20% premium on all goods. But the moment you drive just 2 hours outside the major urban centers into remote towns like Talkeetna or Healy, the prices shift into hyperinflation. A single gallon of milk can easily cost $8 to $10. Fresh produce is treated like a luxury commodity. Basic, casual dining meals that would cost $15 in Texas or Ohio routinely cross the $35 mark here, before tax and the standard 20% American tipping expectation. If you do not meticulously budget at least $100 per person per day just for baseline, unglamorous food, your travel capital will be entirely liquidated before the halfway point of your journey. Accommodation in Alaska is another structural trap engineered by extreme seasonal compression. Because hundreds of thousands of tourists descend upon microscopic towns like Denali or Seward during the exact same 3-month window, the lodging inventory faces an absolute bottleneck. Basic, outdated motels built in the 1980s command luxury resort prices. Expect to pay $350 to $500 per night for a room that would cost $70 anywhere else in the world. The alternative? Camping or renting an RV. But even the RV market is highly predatory. Nightly rental rates, mandatory mileage fees, and septic dumping charges make an RV just as expensive as a high-end hotel room. Furthermore, wild camping is heavily restricted due to wildlife regulations. If you do not reserve designated campsite slots up to a year in advance, you will find yourself legally boxed out, facing steep fines from state troopers for parking illegally on the side of the highway. The wildlife truth. Social media clips show tourists standing mere feet away from massive moose or filming grizzly bears catching salmon from pristine viewing platforms. What the algorithms hide is the sheer danger and the high cost of safety. Alaska is not a controlled theme park. It is an active, apex predator ecosystem. Moose are statistically more dangerous and attack more humans in Alaska than bears. A single lapse in spatial awareness can result in catastrophic physical injury. To hike safely, basic preventative gear is mandatory. A single can of specialized bear spray costs upwards of $50 to $60 at local outfitters, and because it is classified as hazardous material, you cannot bring it with you on a commercial flight. You are forced to buy it upon arrival and abandon it before you leave. A mandatory safety tax. If you want the guaranteed safe wildlife experience seen on television, you must pay for private, guided wilderness tours. Attempting to save money by tracking these animals alone without deep backcountry experience is a direct gamble with your life. The microclimate shock. Many tourists pack for Alaska, assuming that summer means mild, pleasant, alpine weather. This misunderstanding routinely ruins vacations. Alaska does not have a single climate. It is a chaotic convergence of oceanic currents, massive mountain ranges, and Arctic air masses. You can experience 70-degree sunshine and 40-degree torrential, freezing rain within the exact same afternoon. If you do not possess high-end, technical 3-layer waterproof clothing, hypothermia is a genuine threat, even in July. Cotton clothing, basic denim jeans, and cheap sneakers are entirely useless when exposed to a sudden maritime gale. Buying this specialized gear at local tourist shops in Alaska will subject you to a massive geographic markup. If you do not invest heavily in proper equipment before you depart, you will spend your trip shivering inside a vehicle, staring at foggy windows, completely blind to the scenery you paid thousands to see. Alaska is undeniably one of the most visually spectacular places on the planet. The scale of its glaciers and the raw power of its landscapes are entirely real. But it is a destination that demands complete logistical humility and an immense financial sacrifice. It is an environment that does not bend to the whims of the modern tourist. You must bend to it. By understanding the closed-loop cruise traps, the infrastructure voids, and the harsh realities of remote inflation, you can escape the tourist matrix and experience the last frontier safely, structurally, and on your own terms. Subscribe to Before You Go Travel Official. Hit the notification bell and let us know in the comments below. Would you risk the unpredictable logistics of Alaska, or do you prefer a more controlled travel experience? Let's analyze your strategies in the comments. Safe travels.